This is CBC Here and Now.
Out-of-province support in the fight against several summer forest fires.
The news came out early this morning. The St Johns Regatta was a no-go.
High winds this afternoon that were expected to gust into the 40s. It was discussed about the high humidex that is expected this afternoon.
How this decision was made and what it meant for one food vendor, that's coming up.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin with the ever-evolving forest fires around the island portion of the province, and now Quebec is stepping in to offer its support. Crews continue to battle a blaze in Caribou near the main highway. The fire broke out last evening, prompting the province to send out a water bomber. According to the Department of Forestry, 6 personnel and 2 pumper trucks are working to contain that fire. It's threatening nearby houses as well as a Canadian Tire. Earlier yesterday, the town announced a fire ban due to the hot weather. And as I mentioned, the province of Quebec is now stepping in with support. 2 water bombers, 1 bird dog aircraft, an air attack officer, and 2 technicians will be making their way to Gander. They're expected to arrive tomorrow. So that's 7 crew members and 3 aircraft being deployed to the central region. They'll be offering support for the next 5 to 7 days. Now, in a statement late this afternoon, the Minister of Fisheries, Forest and Agriculture says hotter temperatures have led to more and bigger fires than usual. He thanked the province of Quebec, saying these extra resources will help local crews better protect the people and wildlife of the province. Now, a fire has been burning along the Bay d'Espoir Highway since July 24th. That highway was temporarily reopened earlier today before officials closed it once again for the remainder of the day due to smoke. There are several forest fires burning around parts of Newfoundland. Crews are fighting a fire at Southern Lake Access Road in the east and are monitoring the Triton Brook Deer Pond area. For the latest on this developing story, head to our website, cbc.ca/nl. Well, in other news, for the second straight year, the Royal St Johns Regatta was a no-go for the first Wednesday in August. The Regatta Committee made the call early this morning. It's a decision that doesn't just impact rowers, but visitors and vendors as well. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm reports.
It's basically business as usual at Quidi Vidi Lake today. No rowers on the pond, just a few ducks. A few walkers make their rounds around an empty lake. And it was very easy to find a place to park.
We reviewed the forecasts from different sources, chatted about the risk for high winds this afternoon that were expected to gust into the 40s with respect to the concern from the rower safety, and as well also it was discussed about the high humidex that is expected this afternoon.
That also means no lineups for food vendors around the lake. They'll have to wait one more day to serve the masses.
There's a panic, you're stressed because obviously we had a great plan set up with all our volunteers outlined and our timings at what time we'll be preparing what time we'll be transporting what. But of course, when you hear the news that it's a no-go, you have to shift gear and try to think what next.
So that's what they did.
We decided that we'll go ahead with our takeout today from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at our Hindu temple. I know races couldn't go ahead because of wind, but it is a beautiful afternoon, and I think it's going to be a great evening.
For the Hindu temple, it's not just about selling food.
This is Hindu temple's annual biggest fundraiser. This helps us to raise significant amount of fund, which we use, some of it we use towards, running our operations. People who come to our stand, they come year after year after year. So it really is great.
Now, rowers and vendors are bracing for tomorrow. Fingers crossed the event goes ahead.
Lots of great atmosphere down here at Quidi Vidi Lake with the return of the vendors and concessionaires. So having the opportunity for our spectators to come down and see some excellent races and as well participate in the games of chance and also in some excellent vendor foods that we have down here.
That is our tradition. We have been doing that for about 50 years. And we will definitely be there, ready to roll. Hopefully it will not be postponed again. I don't know what I'll be doing otherwise.
It's pretty empty here today around the lake, but that might look completely different tomorrow. Given the wind cooperates, the 204th Royal St Johns Regatta will go ahead, and the decision about that will once again be made in the early morning hours. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St Johns.
And that forecast that they were talking about panned out. This is what the winds were this afternoon. Started southerly, turned to southwesterly, and then eventually westerly winds, which is where we're sitting now. And we did see those gusts somewhere between 30 to as much as 46 kilometers per hour this afternoon. Temperatures topped out at 25. That humidex, though, feeling more like 33. But the story right now really is the potential for some severe thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorm watches in effect for a good chunk of central, even Bonavista and Clarenville. That just got issued. And then a severe thunderstorm warning for the Niagara Peninsula at the moment. So if we take a look at what's going on, those thunderstorm cells popped up about an hour ago, I guess. This one over here popped up around 4:30, and they're working their way further east. Now, the severe thunderstorm warning is associated with this cell here. It does look like there's the potential for some hail with this one. You can just kind of tell by the radar signature, but they are moving northeast. So if you are in the way of that, you'll likely see some heavy rain, potential for some small hail and some gusty winds as well. Now, this is going to continue for the next couple of hours. Future Tracker showing that fairly well. By the time we get to 9-10 o'clock, that should end. And then forecast for tomorrow looking pretty good. I'll get into those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Occupational health and safety charges have been laid in connection with the 2020 death of a worker at a quarry near St. John's. A 61-year-old man died at a Weir's construction on the CBS Bypass Road in September of 2020. Triple J Aggregates Limited has been charged with 11 violations, including not ensuring the safety of workers, failing to provide proper training and instruction, and not ensuring a safe workplace. There are also charges involving the safety of the equipment. A supervisor faces one charge for allegedly failing to ensure the health and safety of all workers. A court appearance is set for later this month. In other news, we now know more details about Saturday's deadly crash on the TransCanada Highway west of St. John's. Police say a 21-year-old male passenger was killed in the crash near Soldiers Pond, while 4 other people in the vehicle sustained what's believed to be non-serious injuries. Police say just the one vehicle was involved and that road conditions were poor at the time with rain and pools of water on the highway. An investigation into the accident is ongoing. Any witnesses who have not yet spoken with police are asked to contact the Holyrood RCMP. Well, patients and staff of the hospital in Corner Brook were partially evacuated this morning after smoke was detected on several floors. Western Health alerted the city's fire department at around 10:30. Ambulances were placed on standby in the event a full evacuation was required. Maintenance staff worked with the fire department to determine the cause of the smoke. They found issues with a motor of a fan in the air handling system near a service elevator. Once identified, the smoke was cleared from the building and staff and patients were allowed back in. Despite no fire, there was a disruption in some healthcare procedures.
The elective procedures and elective investigations or tests are put on hold. Patients will be contacted by Western Health to rebook these procedures. What I do want to say is very clearly is our emergency department is still open. So if you have an emergency condition, or if you think you might have an emergency condition, please present to the emergency department. It is still open. And I also want to say, I know there are a number of families that are very worried about their loved ones that are in the building. Western Health is working really closely with the fire department to ensure that we keep your family safe.
Well, it's an issue dividing the people of the Port Peninsula and the entire West Coast. Wind power. A decision on the first phase of the World Energy GH2 is expected this week. It involves 164 massive wind turbines to be built on the sparsely populated peninsula. The news is getting mixed reviews and area leaders are caught in the middle. Troy Turner has more.
It's an area known for its pristine beauty. From the peaceful coves to the jagged cliffs along the coastline, the Port Peninsula is like few others in this province. But in the interior of the peninsula, away from the tiny communities, there are plans to erect massive wind turbines. And area leaders are urging people to keep an open mind.
Two-sided, there's a lot of negative comments, and there are some for, and we as of now, we have set up a committee. There's 18 members in the wind turbine regional, Port region committee, and those members are consisting of members from the 4 town councils and all members of the LSDs.
The committee has not thrown its support for or against the project. It is, however, asking the province to extend the deadline for a decision on an environmental assessment. Cornick also says she wants people to consider the possible economic boost.
We have a dying community, and I believe we have dying communities all over our region. And we have to seriously consider keeping an open mind. You know, staying neutral, keeping an open mind, listen to the government, listen to the company, and then decide. Just don't listen to all news, like, get the facts.
The Benoit First Nation is also remaining neutral.
We need to make sure the information is available, because I think this whole thing didn't start very well information-wise, but we need to kind of correct that, make sure that people are not feeling that there's a hidden agenda or anything, that everything is transparent, because if it doesn't look transparent, people don't believe it's transparent.
Benoit says he's also hearing concerns about the plant and wildlife in the area. Construction is also on his radar.
There's 2 parts, the road construction, because you ain't going to put in any windmills unless you have road construction. Road construction is a major part of this program, connecting areas of the peninsula that hasn't been connected before. And then, of course, after that's done, you have everybody else that has access to every crook and cranny of this peninsula that didn't have access before. So those are concerns.
The environmental assessment process for this phase of the development is ongoing. Public comments were due July 27th, and a decision is expected by the minister on Friday. Troy Turner, CBC News, Port Peninsula.
Labrador West once again has a thrift store, and you could say it has a very specific purpose. Mission Kitty, a group in Wabush, is on a mission to help control the province's cat population.
You are in Mission Kitty Thrift Shop. This was something I've been working on for quite some time. Took about maybe a year to make it happen, and I'm extremely happy about how the first month has gone. The thrift store is something that Wabush and Lab City really needed here. We haven't had one in several years, and I thought with the way things are going and the rising costs of everything, that a thrift store would go really good. So, we take all the unwanted items that people have and sell it at a discounted price. And the profit goes to the kitties. So everybody wins. Mission Kitty is a group that I started about 5 years ago this fall. Started really small scale when I lost my cat, and I've told this story before, but my sweet angel Jingles, it was something I did for him when I found out we couldn't get cats in Labrador. It was really hard, and I went to Newfoundland, and they have a really bad problem with cats. Got together with some of the rescue groups out there to figure out what I could do from Labrador to help them. We get a lot of different reactions when people come in. It is a thrift store, and I feel like thrift store typically means clothing, but on top of all the clothing, there's a little bit of everything.
Oh my goodness, first of all, I think it's a wonderful project. We come here almost every day and support the kitties, don't we? And we buy toys, and it's just beautifully set up.
Leah, do you have a kitty or do you have a pet?
I have 2 kittens.
Nice. And what are their names?
Navi and Nova.
With inflation now, and they've got such great quality of donations that I find the clothing really, really affordable, and I find some great bargains. I picked up a couple of tops. Plus, it's going to a good cause, so that's always a plus.
This weekend coming up in a couple of days, my sister and I are traveling to Bell Island. There's a big cat project going on there starting on Saturday. A team from Ontario, a vet and their team, are coming to Bell Island, and they're going to spay and neuter 300 cats in 4 days. So Bell Island has a big problem with stray, wild, feral cats, and they're going to come down, and together we're all going to try and fix that problem a little anyway.
Well, two well-known Newfoundland comedians have been shortlisted for the annual Leacock Medal for Humor. Mark Critch's An Embarrassment of Critches and Rick Mercer's Talking to Canadians, a memoir, are two of the 3 books in the running for the award. The winner will be announced at a gala in Ontario on September 17th, but sadly, the 3rd shortlisted author, Indigenous author Dawn Dumont, has been missing since last month. A release from the Leacock Medal says she and her son have been missing since July 22nd, but Saskatoon police and the RCMP say it's still an open investigation. Well, 16-year-old Jada Lee is an up-and-coming baseball superstar. The St. Johns athlete has lots to brag about heading to the upcoming Canada Games in Niagara. She's carrying the Newfoundland and Labrador flag at the opening ceremony, and she's the first ever woman to play on a men's team. Video producer Danny Arsenault caught up with Jada at her final practice before the big trip.
My older brothers always played growing up, and my dad coached them, so I'd just be at the field a lot when I was a kid. He coached me all the way growing up until like 2 years ago, and he always brought me and my brothers down to the field and stuff.
The first time that I really got to see Jada play was probably 4 years ago when she first came to our very first tryout camp when she was 12 years old, and immediately was impressed with her skill as a pitcher and her work effort and attitude.
When I was younger, there was a tournament. The other team was like over there laughing or whatever, and then the coach was even like saying stuff, and then the first batter, I struck them out.
Can you talk about how special this is for her to be the first female player on a male team in the Canada Games?
She is a special player, and not because she's female, simply because she's good. Jada is a phenomenal pitcher. Her attitude and calmness on the mound, her fastball speed, which is in the low 80s, or a mix of her curveball. She's very confident, and that confidence carries over in their execution. So she's good, and we expect her to pitch well at Canada Games.
What was the emotion like when you heard the news that you were going to be the flag bearer?
It was exciting and obviously a big honor. Everyone was very happy for me and excited for me. Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of messages from like younger girls, especially on like Instagram or Facebook, saying like they bought tickets to come watch me, or like they can't wait to see me play, or stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
And our male players treat Jada just as any other teammate, same expectations that they have from Jada as they would anyone else.
I've played with the same guys for like 10 years almost, so all of them and all their parents are fine with it. It's like normal, but when I go away, you'll obviously hear some like words from other dugouts or like other parents or something. But I've never had any trouble with it. I know a bunch of girls that have though.
The only accommodation that we've had to really think about over 4 years is when we travel, and just her sleeping accommodations. Other than that, there's really no difference.
Yeah, well, I'm a pitcher only for Canada Games, so I've just been doing a lot of pitching training, mechanic work, and a lot of work on like placement and stuff.
We're ready to win every pitch, so our attitude is, hey, let's go out and win every pitch, and focus on that. One pitch at a time, the results will take care of itself if we play that way.
It'll definitely be a good memory.
Tracking some severe thunderstorms across the province. We'll talk about that and the full forecast coming up.
It's not going to a office, you're going to nature. When it's all said and done, you're heading up with a canoe. I mean, that's pretty amazing to me.
Amazing indeed. Meet a man who's keeping this tradition alive. We head to Conn River to see the canoe he built by hand. Okay, Ashley, before we get to your forecast and talk about the regatta, we have some news for anglers.
Yeah, due to extremely high water temperatures and then low water levels, there are restrictions in place for several salmon rivers in the province.
Yes, rivers in Zone 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11 will be restricted to morning angling only. That comes into effect tonight. So what does that mean? Well, angling will only be allowed between 1 hour before sunrise and 10 a.m. each day, and it will be closed from 10:01 a.m. to 1 hour before sunrise the following day.
Rivers will reopen as conditions improve, and for more information and the complete list of rivers in question, you can head to the DFO website or call the angling line.
All right, so let's talk about the regatta. It was a no-go today. Last night you did give us the yellow light, proceed with caution for all the people playing regatta roulette. And it was canceled today. How are things looking for tomorrow?
Well, let's just say the forecast looks a lot better for tomorrow as far as those winds are concerned. Let's take a look one more time at the forecast. So wind direction will actually bounce around a lot tomorrow. Start westerly, turn to southeasterly. It's everywhere, really. So I'm saying variable winds, but as you can see, the forecast for the wind gusts a lot less. So anywhere from next to no wind to winds gusting around 20 kilometers per hour. Weather also for tomorrow, we'll likely see some drizzle in the morning and then stay cloudy through a good chunk of the afternoon, but eventually we should see some clearing skies and less of a chance of rain as the day goes on. So tomorrow's forecast, much better than what we saw today. Taking a look at the temperatures today, speaking of 25 degrees in St. John's today, temperatures again through central, around 26 to 29 degrees through the afternoon. Same thing for the west coast, south coast into the 20s as well. And even up across Labrador, some beautiful temperatures today, anywhere from 18 to about 23 degrees. Warmest was in Happy Valley Goose Bay today. And you factor in that humidity, nothing up across the big land, but we are seeing those humid conditions. This is right now. So we're down to about 23 degrees in St. John's, but it's still feeling like 30 with that Humidex. 35 in Gander. A very warm evening for you, and it's feeling like 33 rather in Badger. So we're going to see this humidity continue, not quite as much for tomorrow, but we're definitely going to still feel that humidity in the air. So what's going on? We've got a ridge of high pressure up across Labrador, which is why we're seeing some of that warmer air finally. An area of low pressure with a cold front and then another warm front. And then obviously those thunderstorms that I was talking about a little bit earlier, that really is the story at the moment. Lots of unstable air, so they did fire or pop up, I should say, this afternoon for a good chunk of central. And that will generally continue as we head through the next couple of hours. So Environment Canada does have a number of severe thunderstorm watches. The watch just means that the ingredients are there for severe thunderstorms to develop, and then a warning means a storm has developed and is likely producing some significant conditions. So right now, here's a look at the storms that are happening. The one in with the severe thunderstorm warning is heading towards St. Albans. This one is capable of producing hail about 2 centimeters, some strong wind gusts as much as 90 kilometers per hour. And then we could also see some locally heavy rain with upwards of about 25 millimeters an hour as the rate. So it likely is going to move through fairly quickly, but you could see some heavy rain. One for Grand Falls, Windsor through to Bishops Falls, and then Glovertown, Port Blanford, all seeing some thunderstorms right now, and that will generally move northeast through the next couple of hours. So there it is there. Future Tracker doing a pretty good job picking up those thunderstorm cells, but by the time we get into the next couple of hours, that risk will end, and then just staying generally cloudy through the night tonight. We may see a few lingering showers, but overall it will be fairly quiet. Some showers will move in again for Lab City as you head into the early morning hours. Temperatures tonight will dip somewhere between 15 to 18 degrees. Generally light winds, northern peninsula a bit cooler, and same thing along the strait in those single digits, and then between 11 and 14 degrees for the the rest of the big land. Oh, that was hard to get out. Now, as far as tomorrow's concerned, like I said, it'll start a bit cloudy, the potential for some showers or drizzle, but as the day goes on, the trend should be a clearing one. And then as far as Labrador goes, you're still looking at that chance of some showers moving back in. Likely no thunderstorms tomorrow, but certainly looking at that chance of showers. And as far as temperatures go through the day tomorrow, we should be sitting in the 20s, mid to high 20s, with those humidex values in the low 30s. Those winds generally light, like I said, southwesterlies though for you along the west coast between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And then for Labrador, going to hang on to some of those mild temperatures, but again, a little bit more gray in the forecast for you. You'll see those winds shift for Lab City from southwesterlies to northwesterlies. That does mean we're in a little bit of a cool down trend, but overall the forecast should stay with where you should be sitting this time of year. So that's a look at tomorrow. We'll look ahead to the weekend when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, hundreds of photographs were on display at the Labrador Arts and Culture Center in Labrador City last weekend. They showcased scenes from various continents, but all had the same photographer, the late Mike Power. He's a former CBC journalist and died from a heart attack last November. His family and friends hope the exhibit helps others see the world through Power's eyes.
I could be a long time here tonight if I tell you about Mike, but he was a wonderful brother, a wonderful worker, world traveler, photographer, musician, etc., etc., etc. I'd like people to learn that do what's in your heart, follow your dreams, and do your best at everything, make it the effort. That's what he did. And you can see where it got him around the world and known from corner to corner. And he's made many friends all over the globe, type of thing. So I think this something for everybody to learn if they had the opportunity.
Mike was one of these people, when he showed up on your doorstep, there was much laughter, good food, and travel adventure stories, of which I have, my wife and I were part of that adventure a couple of times, a trip to Ireland, which had a couple of missteps, but all added to the adventure. Mike's adventure was solo. He would love just walking, because if he had somebody in tow, that would take away from his experience. He was just wandered his own way and got his pictures. I think people should kind of look at that and saying the adventure is not the destination, it's the journey.
He's been a great family friend, and in the bigger picture, a friend of Labrador. Grounded, wore his heart on his sleeve, had a vision far greater than anyone could ever have imagined, and he made sure that we all knew what mattered and worked towards that goal. I think the lesson in Mike Power's classroom would be humble, pay attention to the things that matter, and do everything in your power that you can to make sure you're the best person you can be. And Mike was a walking, talking, living example of that.
Can't replace caribou like with moose meat, or we can't replace it with like chicken or beef. It's something that's really important, and it has a cultural connection.
That cultural connection between Inuit and Caribou is the focus of a new documentary shot in Labrador. We'll hear from some of the people who created it and find out what they hope to achieve. A new documentary called Heard, Inuit Voices on Caribou takes us to Labrador to tell the story of Inuit communities and how the dramatic decline of the caribou population and subsequent hunting ban changed their traditional way of life. The film's director, David Borish, and co-producer Ines Shywalk talk about why the documentary was made and what they hope viewers will get from it.
We dried it, roasted it, celebrated it. It was a part of who we were.
The whole point of this film, this broader initiative, is to really amplify and document Inuit voices about their relationships with caribou in the context of caribou population declines and lows. The title really, we feel, symbolizes the human dimensions behind this topic.
People have to be heard.
We've all heard stories from our parents about caribou hunting, or like we may have gone on caribou hunting like in my generation, but like to be able to document what we did about caribou and to be able to pass it on to the next generation to say like this is what happened when we hunted caribou or when we were allowed to hunt caribou, and to see and to realize what everybody is missing out on. Like you're not just missing caribou, but you're missing the sort of being together or to connecting with family as you would when you travel to hunt caribou. A lot of it is your connection to community and your connection to land or connection to family. Like for me specifically, like my mom's family is sort of spread out along the coast, on the south coast and the north coast. So when the caribou were close to Riglet and people would come here and hunt, like we saw cousins we may have not seen in a year or more. And same with going to the North Coast, like you saw a lot of family, like you were able to connect with generations, like you're, oh, that's my cousin, I know who that is, or we're related this how, and so like you lose that connection. Like the reason was to go caribou hunting, but another reason was to actually connect with people in the communities.
I had listened to a presentation by Dr. Ashley Consolo, who's one of the producers on this project, and she was talking about the importance of film for sharing Inuit knowledge and stories. And there was this interest and need from communities across Labrador to work on a new documentary film all about this connection between caribou and their communities. And they were looking for someone that had some film experience to be involved. And it really just aligned with my interests relating to wildlife conservation, Indigenous culture, and the film side. So that's one of the main reasons why I got involved in it, is that it just perfectly aligned with what I was trying to do.
I don't think our voices are heard. Like we can say everything and we can tell everybody what's happening, but because we're not scientists, we're not believed. So as long as we have this information recorded and documented, we're able to tell people, we're able to tell scientists, we're able to tell governments, like, this is what's happening. You need to start listening to us so that we can start a process of healing or a process of bringing caribou back or finding ways in which caribou can help our communities survive and thrive without caribou.
I was kind of the main film person behind this, but really this work was completely led by Inuit and a collaborative effort between a diversity of people. So on the front line of it was members from the Nunatsiavut government, the Nunatuvu Community Council, the Torngat Wildlife Plants and Fisheries Secretariat, as well as Inuit community members such as Ines, and then researchers from across Canada as well. And really, we've been working together for over 5 years on this film, as well as broader research initiative. And the goal was not to tell this story from one perspective or one angle, but really come together from a diversity of disciplines and perspectives to share the diversity of values and connections with caribou. So the collective process of creating this with different groups as well as with community members was integral to making sure the story was told in a way that aligns with Inuit values.
My biggest hope is that they realize that caribou is not just an animal. It's so important to everybody within like Nunatsiavut and Nunatuvet. Like we need, or even in Central Labrador, like we need to be able to let people know that we can't replace caribou like with moose meat, or we can't replace it with like chicken or beef. It's something that's really important. And it has a cultural connection of connecting youth with elders or even youth with middle-aged people that there's always a connection and there's always a story, and that's how people learn. Like it's through oral communication, and people need to understand that without the caribou, what do we rely on? What do we rely on now without it?
It was almost like the caribou was the reason, and everything else happened after.
I hope what Inuit community partners are hoping in this, in that they want the story of caribou to not just be about caribou, to be about what this loss of caribou means for communities, and to really promote awareness on these interconnections between communities and wildlife more broadly. I mean, I'm myself, I'm not Indigenous, I'm settler Canadian from Ontario, and I didn't know anything about, Labrador, about caribou, really about Inuit communities in general. And I think a lot of Canadians don't know that much about these parts of Canada, and especially the connection between Inuit and caribou in Labrador. And so I hope that this film provides a glimpse into what life is like and what these relationships are like between these communities and this culturally important species.
And you can catch Heard Inuit Voices on Caribou when it airs on CBC TV this Saturday, August 6th at 9:30 Newfoundland time, 9 o'clock in most of Labrador, or you can watch it on CBC Gem starting on Friday. Well, tomorrow on the St. Johns Morning Show, tune in nice and early to hear whether or not the 204th Royal St. Johns Regatta gets the green light. And the 100-year-old mystery of the missing school teacher from Muddy Bay. Tomorrow, a descendant of Marguerite Lindsay talks to Labrador Morning, sharing what she has learned about her great-aunt's story. birch bark canoe is in storage here at the Interpretation Center in Conn River, but it is destined for the water. Joining me now is the builder of this beautiful canoe, Billy Joe. So tell me what goes into making something like this.
Well, it's quite a bit of work that goes into it, like gathering the material, the bark, all the roots, and the spruce gum, and of course all the planking inside. So it's quite a bit of work. This is the materials that we used thousands of years ago, I guess, traditionally. The spruce root and the gum, spruce gum, and the bark. So if you're going to build a traditional canoe, you need those materials. Once we gather the roots, then we put them in a big pot and boil them and take the bark off and split them. And so it's a little bit of work to that.
Yeah, a little bit of work to a lot of it.
Yeah, a little bit here and there makes up a lot, I guess, yeah.
And there's so much, it's so intricate how you tie it all together here. Can you kind of explain to me how you manage this?
Well, once we got the roots all clean and the bark is all has to be sewed together, and then we use a modern day drill now. So we drill holes and start sewing it in over and over until it's done.
This looks very time consuming.
It is, because you're just going like putting in 3 stitches, then you move, putting 3 stitches all the way along. And all the entire canoe is done the same way. It's all sewed together with spruce root. That's the good thing about it, you know, when you get up and you're going to work, it's not going to a office, you're going to nature, into the forests, and you're gathering materials from there, from nature, and when it's all said and done, you're heading up with a canoe. I mean, that's pretty amazing to me.
How did you learn how to do this?
It was an elder from Quebec, Randy Martin, came down, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago, and that's where we started building the birch bark canoes.
Take me back to that point in time. Why did you want to learn?
Well, to start with, it was very interesting to even talk about building a birch bark canoe, and I guess there was a few giggles along the way. I wondered if it was going to work. And
skepticism?
Yeah. And then the elder said, "Oh yeah, this will work." He said. Well, after we built the first one, I don't know, it's just something that I couldn't give up doing. I just had to keep at it. Whether it was building them for the band or myself, I think I would have still kept at building the canoe.
And is it the tradition of it that keeps you doing it? Because you could build any kind of canoe.
Oh yeah, you can, yeah.
But this is what you choose to do. What is it about the tradition of building something like this that you want to keep alive?
It's well, it's important to keep alive because it was dormant so long in our community, until we built the first one in, I think it was 96. Well, now there's it was only me and 2 other guys then, but now it's Derek and my son Sylvester that can do this.
And how important is it? Because you picked up this skill from an elder years ago. How important is it for you to make sure that what you learned is then passed along?
Well, that's where Derek comes in. Now, when I give up, I'm hoping that he continue with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't say I'll ever give it up, but I'll be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You never want to stop making.
No. You maybe just models by.
Well, Billy Joe, thank you so much for speaking with me and telling us how you put this amazing canoe together.
You're welcome.
couple who moved to PEI has started up a rescue service of sorts. They save bees, and no surprise, this story is close to my heart. The pair take the bees home to their property, which just happens to be the site of a replica castle. A great place for the bees to thrive. After all, what is a castle without a queen?
Well, so far we've got 3 colonies. The first one was a swarm on the ground at a farm, very close, Kensington. The second one was out of an 1800s schoolhouse. It was an extraction out of the wall. Didn't take us too long. Of course, we've done it a bunch of times, but we work as a team. As a beekeeper, you can't just read a book or watch a video online. You know, beekeeping is kind of area specific. So first thing I did when I got here was go meet a bunch of beekeepers. And that's the smartest way to learn about where I am, because I've been keeping bees in Ontario. It's different here, and it's beautiful here. Swarms, we'll go anywhere on the island to help somebody, no problem. And then we would find homes for them.
They're looking for a new place to live. Well, when they take a rest, they'll often land in somebody's tree. So they see this big swarm and a big ball of bees, and you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, scared of them. And some people are allergic to them, and they have kids and pets. And we'll go and collect the swarm because we don't want people to spray them. And that's kind of an automatic reaction, although over the years with people being educated about how important bees are, it's become less. People are more interested in finding a place that will help them.
They're looking for a home. That's all they're doing. They're flying around. It's the queen's in the lead. She's looking for a place to go. She gets tired and lands. All the bees join her, and they send out scout bees, which continue to look for a place to go. We provide that to them. So, be it a cardboard box with some pheromone spray that smells nice to them, a little lemongrass, something like that, or what we often do is we'll carry a half a hive. We call them nukes, nuke box, which is like 5 frames, but it's got old frames with drawn beeswax, so it has a smell that they're familiar with, that they're looking for. With the beekeepers, it's like a brotherhood where everybody's trying to help each other do better. We're not really competing against each other, right? We're all kind of sharing knowledge and tips and tricks, and we want each other to do better.
Well, that definitely made you happy, didn't it?
Oh, that's such a nice story. That camper, too, with a big bee painted on it. It was amazing.
I can see that parked in your place.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind one bit.
No, not at all.
Okay, so let's look at the long-range forecast. Skipping ahead to Friday and the weekend. How's it looking?
Well, warm. Definitely going to see some warm days, but then we're also going to see some cooler days as well. Let's take a look at the future tracker. This is Friday, so we'll see the chance of some showers for most areas through the afternoon on Friday, and then eventually the skies will clear for parts of central, but overall temperatures are going to be mild again, back up into the mid-20s. In fact, it does look like eastern areas of the island will be the warmest, and we could hit the 30-degree mark yet again on Friday. Now up across Labrador, quiet. Finally, for you again, some more sunshine in the forecast. Lab City sitting around 18 degrees, 21 in Lab's Happy Valley Goose Bay, and then we still have that chance of showers along the coast. But overall, Friday is not looking too bad. As we head through Friday evening into Saturday, those showers will continue to work their way further east. Some more showers moving in for Labrador, but note what happens to the winds. They're going to shift more northerly, and that means for the northeast coast and really for eastern Newfoundland, we're looking at that temperature dropping as the day goes on, likely down to the low 20s through the afternoon, and then also going to hang on to the chance of some showers for the Avalon. So 21 degrees right now for St. Johns is what I have, but again, temperatures will drop into the afternoon. That will be the daytime high, and that will likely happen earlier on in the day. Otherwise, temperatures will be into the mid-20s again, lots of sunshine through central, west coast, and then even seeing those mid-20s down along the south coast. Otherwise, showers the story across the Big Land. They'll likely stay a bit north of Happy Valley Goose Bay, but overall, your temperature will be hovering in the low 20s. Taking a look at the long-range forecast, after we get through Saturday, those temperatures will jump right back up into the around 26 to 27 degrees, but then we're going to start to see those temperatures dip next week. Some models pointing at temperatures really dipping, so I'm certainly going to keep an eye on the forecast for you, but overall the end of the weekend looks like the best with sunshine, and then that will continue the trend through Monday. Now, central Newfoundland, you're looking at a little bit of a dip for Monday, and same thing for western Newfoundland, with your temperatures dipping down to about 20 or 22 degrees, and then again your overnight lows dipping as well. But overall, not a bad looking weekend. More shower activity expected for western Newfoundland. And then for eastern Labrador, temperatures will dip for you by the time we get into Monday as well, but you'll enjoy some temperatures in the 20s, and then teens the story for western Labrador, and then overnight lows into the single digits. So definitely looking at that cooling trend. But this photo is very warm looking. Gorgeous blue sky there. Thank you so much for sharing that photo. What a day for a paddle for sure. Cal Vincent shared this photo from Newtown. And we thank you very much for that. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook, Twitter, or email them to enaphotos@cbc.ca.
Ah, what a beautiful shot.
I love it when we get those paddling photos. I still haven't been out yet.
Yeah.
On a kayak.
Time is ticking. My goodness, we're in August now.
It's already
Next thing you know, it's
August.
going to be September.
Still beautiful weather, but still September. Summer's
So,
flying
yeah, we
by.
shouldn't even think about that. Tomorrow is going to be regatta day, we're thinking. They're going to have the call at like 5:30?
5:30 in the morning,
Yeah,
apparently, or
okay.
5:35. So it'll be nice and early tomorrow. You'll know.
All right.
If you're up.
Tune in. Tune in to CBC Radio for that. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Good night.
Good night.